We got a comment on our Doubters Our Product video asking if there's going to be a solo mode so that you can play the game without having to play as the tobacco industry. And the answer is no, but it's an interesting question, so I thought I would answer it here. So recently, a lot of historical competitive games, have had solo modes so that you can play the game without having to play a side that's morally reprehensible. And that's made those games a lot more accessible to a broader audience, and a lot of people are now able to engage with historical games and take games seriously as an art form to a degree that they perhaps were not before, and I am totally in favor of that. And you would think with this game in particular, where each player is playing their own game with their own components and mechanics and rules, that it'd be real easy to do that as a solitary experience. Just separate the two games, and the two games are each individually ludicrously compelling with these satisfying puzzles and challenges to solve. But the two games also do intersect at some key points, where it's actually quite highly interactive, and a lot of the decisions made by human players in opposition is what creates a lot of the meaning in the game. Where they intersect is regarding like the disinformation conflict and lobbying, activism, like what the game is actually about, what the argument of the game is about. So if you were to just do just the movement side of things and cut out the tobacco industry as a player, or create some kind of automated tobacco industry, you would have a game that ludicrously is quite compelling and fun to play and interesting to play, but you'd have those mechanics, but you wouldn't have what those mechanics are in service of. You wouldn't have like the message, the model. Often with my political games, I'm trying to center observation of a model, and that is where you are getting the meaning from the game. To the point where I try not to immerse people, actually. A lot of games depend on identification, on, you take on this role and you learn something by playing as this faction. You learn something about that faction and their point of view and their goals. And that's not really what I'm about with these games. I, in fact, try to distance you from your faction, try to alienate you from them a little bit. That's why in this game in particular, I don't use like slick advertising art for the tobacco industry, for example. I don't want you immersed. I want you at a distance so that you can observe that model, and that's where you're getting meaning from the game. And so that's kind of why there's not a solo mode here. Now, I recognize that games with these kind of subject matters are difficult to get on the table with a second player. And so I do try to make them solitaire friendly in that play both sides kind of way, and that is true here. Basically, just when you draw up to the hand size for the tobacco industry, don't look at your cards at the end of your turn, so that when you do the movement player turn, you don't know what those cards are. That's all you got to do, and then you can play both sides of this solitaire. All that being said, I've kind of stubbornly resisted putting solo modes in my competitive games because I really do try to create a two-player experience. And I haven't really ever given them much serious thought, but I did here. I actually spent quite some time grappling with, should I do a solo mode, and how would I do it? And I ended up coming to the decision that no, I'm not going to do that. But it doesn't mean I might not change my mind in the future and decide, you know what, I was wrong. I should do a solo mode for this, and in which case we might do something like that. I don't know. Right now I don't see how it would work, but I try to be open, and I'm definitely someone who's been wrong before. Case in point, I spent like 4 decades thinking I was a dude, and I was wrong about that. Boy, was I embarrassed. So, thank you for your question.